Hello and welcome to Women in Retail Talks. I'm Jennifer DePasquale, the president and co-founder of Women in Retail and Total Retail. Today, I'm joined by Allie Egan, founder and CEO of Veracity Self-Care, a new brand and platform for skincare and wellness that helps to take the mystery out of skincare. In this episode, we're discussing her career and history in retail, why she launched Veracity, and her advice for others looking to launch or pivot in this time, and a lot more. So let's dive in and get started. Allie, thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jen.
Yes, of course. So tell us a little bit about your background in retail. I know you have a long-standing history in retail and the new company Veracity as well.
Yeah, of course. So my background has really been all in consumer brands, mostly beauty and fashion, but kind of all across the board as well. Prior to starting Veracity, I was the CEO of the women's apparel brand Cynthia Rowley, where I basically led that business from a wholesale and licensing business to a direct-to-consumer brand and e-commerce driven brand. Prior to that, I had been at Estee Lauder companies where I worked with three of their bigger skincare brands, Clinique, Origins, and La Mer. And as I like to say, in my previous life, I was actually on the other side of the table as an investor at L Catterton, investing in consumer retail businesses across beauty and fashion, but also in broader, CPG and consumer health, et cetera. And now, since last year, I am the founder and CEO of Veracity. And we are a totally new type of skincare and wellness brands. Something I'd observed is that a lot of today's skincare brands really only talk about and treat symptoms like that, one pimple or wrinkle, et cetera. And really don't talk and leave women blind to the root causes of what is causing that, pimple or wrinkle, et cetera. And so Veracity, we created Veracity to offer a personal skincare experience based on real data about hormones and other biofactors that are impacting your skin and your health. And as you said in the intro, we were founded really to take the mystery out of skincare and make it more about real health and identifying root causes versus just treating symptoms. And to make it as brief as possible, in a nutshell, we have what I call three major products. The first is how we do this, right? And this is our super innovative at-home skin, we call it our Skin Plus Health test. And that is a at-home spit test, kind of exactly like a 23andMe type experience, where you spit in a tube and mail it back. And from that, we're able to give you a report on the unique biofactors affecting your skin. And then we are also developing a beautiful, clinically effective, but scientifically verified safe line of skincare. And for what that means for us is free of all hormone disruptors and appropriate for all life moments, including pregnancy and breastfeeding. And then our last product is the content and community that we're building, which is what you see on our website now as we're getting ready for our big launch later this year.
So fascinating. I have like a billion questions about this. So the first thing is, and I'll dive into the skin test later because I have a bunch of questions about that, but I want to talk because I know you have a very personal story around launching the company and why you launched. Can you share with us just a little bit of the inspiration of launching the company?
Of course. Yeah. So, despite my love and experience for skincare, I don't think I personally would have ever made the leap to really start something completely new if it weren't for this personal experience. So, my story starts out like a ton of other women. My skin was fine, and until all of a sudden something changed and I started experiencing these very weird dry patches kind of near above my eyelids, and could not figure this out. Like, talked to my dermatologist, Googled everything. I went through a complete, I call it the elimination diet for my skin, where I literally stopped using everything and then adding it back. And some things, helped a little bit, but then they kind of reared its ugly head. And I dealt with this for like 3.5 years,
Was
basically.
this in your 20s, Allie, or how old were you?
Late 20s, early 30s. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Um, and kind of just, was like, okay, guess I'm just going to deal with this, and sort of, brush it under the table. And then, unrelated, when started trying to get pregnant with my husband, and we had some issues. And so I went in for, kind of a normal fertility workup. And in that process, discovered that I had hypothyroidism, which is a lack of thyroid hormone. I actually have a condition called Hashimoto's.
Okay.
And what that means is that your body is not producing enough thyroid hormone, and one of the literally direct impacts from that is dry, flaky patches. And so once I learned about that, I got on medicine and also ended up changing my diet. And I've never ever experienced those dry patches again. And that was kind of the aha moment of like, wow, like I, as an educated, like super consumer, who was like
Right.
talking to physicians, doing all these things, still didn't have the tools and the resources to figure out what was the source of my problem. And the really like inspirational moment for me too is obviously everyone wants great skin, right? And that's a motivator enough. But I think your skin is the largest organ in your body, and is a sign of often important underlying health issues. And so if you're motivated or trying to understand what's going on in your skin, you can also learn things about your broader health. And I just thought that was like so meaningful, and something that, would have made a big difference to me in my journey. If I had found out, 3.5 years before that I was having this imbalance, I would have been able, I would have,
Sure.
so really that was the inspiration and the aha moment, and is a big underlying part of, our mission at Veracity.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that personal nature, because I know, I love passion behind purpose-driven companies, right? Like launching for a specific moment in your life that inevitably is going to help someone else and pay it forward. So I love what you're doing, and the reason that you launched, and taking it into your own hands. So when you were going through this and sort of coming up with the creative gene to launch, did you take a peek around? Like, what was the white space that you saw? Was there anybody else in the market that was doing this and really looking at the science behind skincare and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so, which is why I was motivated to start it. I mean, obviously skincare is a huge category, but it's super crowded, right? And like
Right.
it's like, oh, another skincare brand. And so I was like only wanting to do this if I could really do something different. And when I looked at the landscape, I kind of think we play in two big, areas that are, I don't even like calling them trends, because I think they're sort of movements within skincare that are here to stay. And the first one is this, personalized side of things, personalized skincare.
Yep.
And then the other is clean beauty. And on the personalization side, clearly there's an interest. I think people are wanting more than just, a filter on a website. And so there's been a ton of players kind of trying to start this personalized quiz that, will help you find the products that are right for you.
Yep.
But honestly, my own personal experience, I'm like, everything relies on like self-diagnosis. Like all of these quizzes start out with a question: what is your skin type? What benefits are you looking for? And it's, even as of someone who worked at the best beauty brands, like I didn't always know what my skin type was or what benefits I was looking for. I'm like, isn't that what this is supposed to be helping me figure out? So,
Right.
so I knew that there was a white space there. And then, I would say what I'm excited about is bringing this more like scientific perspective to the world of clean beauty, where, it's not just about a buzzword of an ingredient we include or exclude or whatever, but really having a scientific definition behind why we're formulating the way we are. And as I mentioned, we're free of hormone disruptors or otherwise it was endocrine disruptor free. And I've been working with an incredible woman who's a PhD in endocrine health to help us craft and those guidelines for our formulas. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I think despite being so crowded, I really saw a few areas where we could really do something meaningfully different.
I love that. So let's talk about the test in general. So you take a saliva test, and what does it show you? I mean, I know that, God, every female on the planet can relate to, hormonal issues, and your skin changes, right before your period or whatever the case is. So what does the saliva test actually show you?
Yeah. So well, first of all, I want to say that, the name Veracity, it means habitual truthfulness or commitment to truth. And so, what that means for us as a brand is, we want to be honest and share the facts behind everything. And so, I think the insights that we will drive now are really meaningful. And then we're working on even more. So even different types of testing in the future, type, if someone wants more answers, get, additional tests so they can really sort of dig in a bit further. Obviously, we're a startup, so we're starting simple and saying, here's what we can test where we know there is medical science behind the things that we were testing and that are proven to have an impact on skin.
Right.
And so, from that, it's so you can get so much more insight than sort of this 2-minute quiz, but we test 6 biofactors in our sort of first testing experience. Most of those being hormonal. So, for example, estrogen, and the real difference in our approach versus even if you were to see a doctor and they were to take hormones is what they would do is they would take all your hormone levels and look at the normal range, and more likely than not, you'd probably be somewhere within the normal range. And so they'd say, Jennifer, you're fine, like, and don't worry about it, like, come back in a year. And you'd be like, well, I still have this problem, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so how we're looking at it and starting to view and analyze the data, which is really exciting, is saying like, look, the quote unquote normal range is quite wide, right? And you're not trying to like not be ill, but you're trying to optimize your health of your skin and beyond.
Yep.
And so we're looking at it on a more sort of granular basis and saying like, look, okay, your estrogen is at the low end of normal. So like nothing is wrong with you. But what that means is that, your body is probably not producing as much collagen as it could. And that obviously we all know the benefits of collagen. And so, here are some products and things that could really help you nourish your skin better and sort of counteract that. I don't even want to call it imbalance, but just, what the state of your hormones is. So I think there's a lot of insights, both from a just skin perspective. And then we're also, because again, as we all know, like it's not just what you put on your skin, but it's what you put in your body that really affects your skin health. So we've also partnered with, well, in general, we've partnered with beyond a dermatologist, which is what most sort of scientifically driven skincare brands do. We have on our advisory board a dermatologist, an endocrinologist, a functional medicine doctor, OBGYN, and a nutritionist who've helped us both develop the test and the insights, as well as helping advise on the formulas for our skincare product. But we've worked with them to give what I'll call like more holistic insights and recommendations after you take your test as well. So that means supplement recommendations, what I'll call like actionable diet and lifestyle recommendations. So it's my belief that there's enough sort of broad-based wellness content out there that will tell you to eat a Mediterranean diet and drink
Right.
less alcohol. But you're like, okay, got it. Like, what are like a couple of things I can do starting tomorrow that will really make a difference? And that's kind of the approach we've taken with our product and recommendations.
I love that. I love everything about that, marrying all of those worlds for females. Such a cool personalization experience. Let's talk a little bit, because I cannot even imagine the challenges that you went through launching during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. What was kind of your biggest obstacle, and how did you handle it, and what are some of the challenges that you experienced?
Yeah, well, I know this is like been such a hard time for everyone, and I'm sure we're all going to look back in awe and be like, how did we do this, right? Like, just
Yeah.
sort of like powering through at this point, especially as like strong women.
And
Um,
what made you launch like right in the middle of a pandemic? Because when did you launch? Was it in April, Allie?
well, I had this idea and had been working on it a little bit in the background pre-pandemic, and so I
Sure.
was kind of bought in before it. But yes, I left my position at Cynthia Rowley the end of March last year, and launched the company in April. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
yeah, so it's been only pandemic for us. You know, the good thing I would say is there are some. I think like testing and proactive testing, people are just like total, like it was already trending that way, right?
Yeah.
In sort of the whole world. But now with the whole COVID experience, I think people are like, get it, got it, give it to me, kind of
Yep.
thing. And
Yep.
so I'm excited about that. But quite frankly, the challenges for me have evolved even as the business has evolved. And so first it was kind of like, I was trying to meet physicians to be on my advisory board, and I'm doing
Yeah.
everything over Zoom and talking to investors, and
Yep.
it's hard to like develop those like real like meaningful relationships that are so important at like the beginning stage of a company, over video when you literally haven't physically met people.
Yeah.
And then onboarding new team members, and I only have one person that I hadn't worked with in some capacity before, but bringing on someone that you don't get to see every day is a challenge. And then I would say the thing we've been dealing with in the last month or so is we're designing our packaging, and we're legitimately just, I feel bad that I'm just wasting so much on UPS shipping, but like we're shipping like product samples back and forth and looking at iterations and all this
Right.
stuff
Right.
when you could just sit down in a conference room and just get it done. But we're dealing with it the best way we can.
Yeah, I know. I mean, everybody can relate to. We're getting ready to onboard somebody virtually in a couple of weeks too, and you kind of go, first of all, hiring over a screen is so bizarre to
Yeah.
everyone, and you're right. It's so hard to make that connection,
Yeah, it is.
and you just kind of want to, at least see them in person and see body language and things like that. It takes it all away. It's certainly a challenge for everybody. Um,
Exactly.
so you had mentioned funding. I want to dig into that a little bit. How did you approach this? Is your first startup. So how did you approach it? It sounds like you had some experience in that world prior, but how did you approach it, and what was the experience like? One, obviously during a pandemic, my gosh, getting funding, and two, particularly as a woman.
Yeah, well, I guess I have a couple of interesting insights there. I mean, so I was actually pregnant too.
Oh
I
my
had my
gosh.
son
Why
Cooper.
not? Why
Yeah,
not?
I know.
Add
It's
it
like when it
on.
rains, it pours.
But that's
uh,
great news. That's the positive news.
Yeah, exactly. But I had my son Cooper in August, so I was doing all of this stuff over Zoom, 7 to 9 months pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
And well, and I'm also just grateful that I have, a group of investors that, believe in me and have supported me before I even had a PowerPoint. Some of those people are friends and family, but some are former bosses and colleagues. I would say one of the benefits of it, doing it during a pandemic, is being able to be hyper efficient, right? Instead of like
Yeah.
trudging around, New York to meet with people, as exhausting as it was able to kind of just have meeting after meeting and get through it faster. And I think that in all enabled us to launch faster, which I'm super excited about. And then, I think any part of like, first of all, being on the other side of the table, I was a private equity investor.
Right.
It's totally different. You think, and then you get on the other side as a founder and you're like, oh, okay, this is completely different. But it is important to like at least have sort of a lay of the land. And I would encourage like other women who are thinking about starting their own business is just get connected to, through friends of friends or however you can, to investors earlier on, even when you're not trying to pitch them, and just kind of understand how they think and what they think is important, because that's just hugely helpful in, crafting your story and being efficient about it, and all those sorts of things, which are, super important to make the right first impression, which is really everything in early stage investing. And then personally, I just also want to give a shout out to, other females who've supported me. A key one is a friend and investor and advisor of the business, Nancy Twine, who is the founder and CEO of Briogeo. So it's definitely early people who believe in you, who help sort of spread that confidence that really helps you get it done.
Yeah. Yep. And I do think that's great advice in terms of, before you even start the funding process, learn as much as you can about it, and, the people that you're going to be pitching, and, what they're looking for, prior to even getting to the table.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I know so many, especially, it's interesting in, I think one of the silver linings of the pandemic is, you do see a lot of startup brands coming to light, and people who have side hustles who are working to bringing them to light, or some kind of a product to light. Do you have any advice for them in launching?
Well, I would say my answer has changed in a good way. Is one thing I've thought a lot about is just how, in anything you should be doing it for your customers, right? And we all talk about like customer centric, meeting your
Yep.
customer where they are, but it's
Yep.
so much more, it rings so much more true when you're, like I'm answering customer service emails, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love that part of it. And something that I've thought about a lot as we've been developing our product and our platform is, as founders, I think people want to push through quickly and get stuff done. But there's also this trade-off between getting things done and then also producing something that is going to meet sort of the demands and needs of the customer in the best way. So personally, something that was hard for me was we've been in private beta mode, giving our testing kits to women and kind of learning about their experience and looking at the data and all those sorts of things. And my original plan had said, like, we're going to do this in June and be done by August. And
Right.
we started putting everything together, and we're like, you know what, like, we actually want to do an instructional like kit that's way more informative and hopefully more sort of less medical and more customer friendly. So then we had to create that. And there's things that like you feel like you're maybe not meeting your deadlines, but really it's worth it because you're making a better product and experience. And so I would say like sort of have be gentle on yourself if you have the right sort of end focus in mind, that the path may turn a little bit, but if you
Right.
keep that focus, it's the sort of you'll end up creating the best thing in the right time.
Yep. Being able to pivot in the moment. Yeah. For sure. Well, one more question, and then I will let you wrap up. First of all, I had no idea that you had your son in the middle of all of this. I mean, my
Yeah,
gosh.
it's a little bit bananas, but also, honestly, I also feel really lucky because I've been able to I have not had to have that mom guilt that I know so many women have because I'm able to work but my son's in the next room and I see him every hour. And, so I feel
You know
really,
what?
really blessed.
It's so true, Allie, because obviously without the lack of travel and things like that, it's kind of a gift in a way, because you're
Yeah,
never going to get this time back, as things
exactly.
ramp up. So congratulations. I'm so thrilled that your fertility journey ended successfully and you have Cooper to show for it. That's just, personally great news. What just for 2021, what are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, so many things. I would say professionally, I'm excited we have our soft launch next month where we'll be launching private sales of our testing kit. So if you sign up on our website to reserve your kit, we'll be taking people off that and sending out testing kits. And then we'll be doing our big launch with our skincare in June. So just super excited
Oh, that's
to
awesome.
bring that to life. And then personally, I've just been thinking a lot about this, but my he'll be 5 months old later this week. And I think at the beginning of a kid's life, it's almost easier because you're basically just like taking care of like the necessities.
Yeah.
But now like I'm excited, or I guess a goal is to really like learn how to teach and, thinking about morals and good behavior and talking and just all those things that you actually have to do a little bit more proactively than changing a diaper or
Yeah. Yeah.
giving a bottle or whatever. So excited to sort of figure all that stuff out.
Yeah. I remember one of my friends had told me like every stage has good and bad, right? Like
Yeah,
every
yeah.
stage you're like, oh my gosh, I hate this part, but I love this part, so
Yeah,
just try
yeah.
and the other piece of advice I'll give you is because I have 3 kids. The days are long, but the years are short. Like you
Yeah,
look back and it sounds like so cliche, but honestly, you look back and it goes in a blink of an eye and you're like, oh my God, like I have, teenagers and how did that happen? It literally happens magically. And when you're having one of those days and you're like, oh my God, this day like is forever. But then you look
yeah,
back and you're like, oh my gosh, Cooper's a 1,
yeah.
it's
I
crazy
know.
how it happens.
I just got to remind myself into crying fits
Oh my
because
God. I hear you, sister. I hear you. You'll believe me. As my husband said, like he would not even like contemplate another one because he's like, we do not get along for like a good year after the kids are born. Like you need a
yeah.
year to like regulate.
Yeah, it's rough. No, but I love that. Thank you. And I'm sure I can learn so much from you. And if nothing else, just have knowing that you're not the only one going through
Oh,
it.
for sure, for sure. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It was a great discussion, and I'm so excited for you for the year ahead. You are really forging new territory, and you found some white space in, as you said, a very crowded market. And I think it is really going to be beneficial for so many women and help so many women. So thank you so much for being here, Allie.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at womeninretail.com/podcast for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks. And until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.